Hey hockey fans, T-Boz is 13-3 here with another top shelf guest, Middlebury College Panthers coaching legend Bill Beaney. This episode is sponsored by State Farm Insurance, Hertel Law, Raleigh's Coach Club, Riverside Bike and Skate, and Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, which has been committed to the healthcare needs of patients in western Wisconsin since 1954. The orthopedic surgeons and athletic trainers serve many area schools in the Chippewa Valley. Mogi.
Oh, Coach Beaney, this is great. He is joining us from his home in Middlebury, Vermont, and we like to thank our buddy Matt Lowen for getting us in contact with Coach Beaney here. This is going to be quite a conversation. Coach, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks much, and it was a pleasure to meet Matt during the World University Games, and to watch him maneuver behind the bench and connect with the kids was fabulous. That coaching staff with Matt and Mark Taylor and Mike Skrzyncki, excellent job in helping the U.S. gain a silver medal in the World University Games in Lake Placid, but. Good stuff.
Right.
Absolutely it was.
Speaking of Lake Placid, JC.
Yeah, you grew up in Lake Placid, New York. How did you get in? Well, obviously, 1980 gold medal winning Olympic, history there. But prior to that, how did you become involved in the great sport of hockey?
It's a great question, and when I'm talking with people and small talk, wanting to know where you're from and what have you, and if I mention I'm from Lake Placid, they get a look in their eye as though you're so lucky to be from Lake Placid to have lived in that town. There's so many hockey players. Travel through Lake Placid during their playing days with youth hockey, and we host the ECAC championship now. So it's a great spot. But I got involved with hockey. Not with the '80 Olympics, but the tradition that started in the 1932 Olympics in Lake Placid. Not that I was there then, trust me, but my mom and dad were lifelong residents of Lake Placid. My dad was a hockey player, and he wanted to coach his three sons in youth hockey. And he's one of those guys, and you guys see it out in Wisconsin and Minnesota. The towns that have good hockey programs have the right people driving the bus, making the decisions with the youth hockey. And in Lake Placid, when we were growing up, in our generation in the 60s, and it was my dad, and he went above and beyond, as well as the number of supporters in the village of Lake Placid, for sure. Great stuff.
Wow, that's great history.
We got two lakes in Lake Placid, and Mirror Lake is the one in the middle of the town. And anybody who's been to Lake Placid will see Mirror Lake, because that's the one you walk around. The ice arena is on that adjacent to that lake, and that's where a lot of us learned how to skate is on Mirror Lake. And eventually we had an outdoor hockey box. And it's a story about people who cared about having their kids do activities, healthy things, and learning how to become a bit self-sufficient. And so just thrilled to have grown up in Lake Placid, and fortunate enough to go back there quite frequently, because it's only about 65 miles from Middlebury.
So your dad was he the organizer of the Lake Placid Youth Hockey Association? Was he the Pied Piper, and the kids just followed him to the rink, or how'd that work out?
He was the coach. I won't say he was the organizer, but he was the coach, and a driving force in it. And I'm not sure that the tune on his Pied Piper flute, if you will, was always so smooth. There were some pretty harsh notes along the way, if we can use that analogy. But he got to know the kids. He got to know how hard he could push them. And he really got us all to be able to play at a higher level than I think we ever thought we could. And then what it did is then it became contagious. I mean, it was, and it perpetuated itself really over the next 20 to 25 years. And it was a wonderful time to grow up there. I can't say as the son of the Pee Wee coach that there weren't a few tears shed me walking up over the hill going back home after practice, but it was all done in a way that tried to make us all in the community be better players and ultimately better people and appreciate our opportunity, for sure.
You were you a multi-sport athlete in school?
Well, again, being fortunate to play in Lake Placid, which was such a small town. I mean, I graduated in 1969, and we had 69 students in the class. So if we're talking half boys, you're not looking at a large school. So I had the good fortune to I played football for a few years in high school. Obviously hockey. Played baseball. When time would permit, I did some track. And then if they needed a golfer, you'd go out and jump on the golf team if time permitted. I think it was back then, guys, and you guys may know what I'm talking about. Anything to get out of school, we jumped on it. Trust me. Anything to get out of class, we'll go. We raised our hand for that. But it's just, real for it. And you ended up having a real close-knit group of guys that you played with and respected. And you might be in a fight with them one day and you got your arm around them the next and you're best buddies. So a real wonderful environment.
What skill set did you bring in the hockey world that New Hampshire was interested in you? What brought you to their attention?
Well, the head hockey coach at the University of New Hampshire was a fellow by the name of Charlie Holt, and he's in the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame for what he's done for hockey in the United States. And well, truth of it, he's good friends with my father, so I guess maybe that's why he gave me a scholarship. I'm not sure, but anyway, he would come to Lake Placid with a couple of other college coaches because people like to spend the summer in Lake Placid, and he would run youth hockey clinics in Lake Placid. So he got to know me and what I could do, and I think the short of it is I could see the game. I had very good stick handling skills. I could score goals. I wasn't the fastest guy, and I wasn't the most tenacious in the corner. But he was able to see that I could play the game in a way to make others around me better, and maybe contribute in some of the ways that I mentioned. And I went to New Hampshire because I knew that Coach Holt appreciated the skills that I had, and he would allow me to play my game. And I think that's sometimes a mistake that young kids make today, trying to go to maybe the most glamorous school, if you will, to play on it, but not recognizing what the coach really wants from them and how are they going to fit into the style of play that the coach is encouraging. And so that was back at a time where you couldn't play till you were a sophomore. So your freshman year, you played on the junior varsity. You trained, played on the junior varsity, and found your way through the academic world and found out what you might be interested in pursuing for a career. And then you played your 3 years, and I was fortunate enough to be selected as captain my senior year. We had a good year. I'll keep going unless you want to ask me questions, but to me it's I was a fortunate kid in the 10th grade. My hockey coach was also my history teacher. Oh. And I vividly remember sitting in class because I just adored Ray Pratt. Ray Pratt played for St. Lawrence, and they played in some NCAA championships and so on. And I said to myself, being a potential first generation college student, because neither one of my parents were fortunate enough to go to college. Back in the Depression time and World War II, it just didn't work. And if I could ever be a high school teacher and coach, it would be a dream come true. And I knew that's what I wanted to do. And so as I went through the University of New Hampshire, I felt as though playing for Coach Holt at New Hampshire, I was getting the best education I possibly could because of the way he treated his players and the way that he coached. And so it was just real fortunate to have had that opportunity, for sure.
So you said you were voted captain by your teammates then your senior year. What kind of leadership skills did you bring to the team?
Well, Mogi, I've got 50 years to reflect on it and 50 years of coaching. So I'm gonna say I could give you a really good answer on what my leadership style was, but I'm really not so sure that it was really that. The 70s were just a tad bit tumultuous, and so I think what it was for me is getting to really know the players and what I could do to help bring out the best decisions that they could make, to help them solve problems, and just to encourage us as a team to be the best we could. Because Coach Holt wasn't a real hard disciplinarian. A lot of the discipline fell on our shoulders, and so you just kept an eye on each other. And I think basically it was you wanted to make the players know that you cared about them and that you would stick up for them when it was most appropriate, for sure. And it was, I was very fortunate. I was surrounded by great leaders. The captain the year before I was at the University of New Hampshire was a fellow by the name of Dick Umili. And Dick Umili went on and had a very successful career coaching at the University of New Hampshire. For many years, he was the head coach. And the fellow who was the captain after me was a fellow by the name of Gordy Clark, who was a two-time All-American and coached with the Bruins and Islanders and so on. And strangely enough, he's my brother-in-law. We married sisters from Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And if I could adequately share the look on the wife's father's face when they brought home two hockey players for Sunday dinner, I think he was hoping for a little bit more when he sent his gals off to the university. But anyway, we survived that, and it's been great. We had a great family, and so I think that's part of where I got my leadership from. And I think it's a mistake that a lot of people try to just emulate the people before them, but we have to learn to take from each other, to learn from each other, and be ourselves.
It sounds like some of that leadership ability that you had when you were the captain, you also brought that into your coaching philosophy.
Absolutely, and it's one of those things. I've been at it so long. You have to adapt, and what would be successful 20 and 30 years ago, 15 years ago, might not resonate with the group that you're dealing with right now. And ultimately, I think the key to it is that you really need to know the players that you're coaching, and you get to know them, I think, by the kinds of questions you ask them in the recruiting process, and you really get read where they're at from day to day, and what they need, and how we can help them achieve what their goal is, and their goal is to be the best that they can be. Unfortunately, with a lot of players, with all of us, I guess, there are some distractions that come along the way, and they come in all ways and forms and shapes and what have you. And we need to be on the lookout for that. It's not to become their friend, but it's to know when you can push them hard. And pushing them hard in 1999 would not be the same as pushing them hard in 2023. I think the players come with a different skill set today. They come with a different set of needs. They come with a different set of strengths. And as coaches, we need to be able to adapt to them while maintaining that same focus of helping them be the best person and the best player they can be. And sometimes it means you got to make them uncomfortable, and that's a hard thing in our world today. Is to make people uncomfortable. So you just have to know how far you can go and what you can do with it, and still not lose these young people that everybody goes through difficult times with the pandemic and with going away to college and change and going from being the best player on their team to maybe the 10th best player on their team, and how they adjust to that. So I don't want to keep digressing on that, but it's just a little bit of thought in terms of the coaching and in terms of dealing with the players.
Well, we appreciate that insight, Coach. That's for sure. And I'm going to digress for 1 second back to your playing days, because I do want to touch a lot more on your coaching. But after college, you played 1 year in the Canadian American League. Is that correct? And tell us a little bit about that experience.
Well, I played. I played a handful of games. I didn't play the full season because it was about an hour and 20 minutes from where I lived. I had just gotten a job out of college, and I was managing a brand new rink. And back in the early mid 70s, that was an explosion when there were so many rinks being built around the country. And so I was managing a rink, and unfortunately, sometimes difficult to get away in the evenings, because that's your prime time in the rink that you happen to be running, and it was at the same time that my fiance was teaching school in the town next door to Portsmouth, where I was living. So that hockey piece served a great purpose in terms of keeping me connected with other college players that played in that league. There were a number of college players playing in that league, and it was actually a quite good league, a high skill level. And there were players that would come down and work in the mills in Manchester from Quebec that were some great hockey players. So it was a great league to play in, as long as you could keep the balance. And it was also at a time when the WHA was coming into existence, and so that all of us at the Division I level that had any kind of success were getting offers to go to training camps, and either an NHL camp or a WHA camp, and so on. And quite honestly, I knew that wasn't for me. Not the way that I played and the way that the game was being played back during the Broad Street Bullies era, and so on. And so I made that direction because I still had in my mind that I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be a coach. And I didn't dream it would be at the college level, but I wanted to do that at the high school level. So that's where that was.
And you did. So when I was doing some research on you, Coach, I noticed that you then coached at Bellows Free Academy in St. Albans, Vermont,
Yeah.
and you won 3 state titles there. Holy mackerel! Right out of college, that happened.
Right. Well, yeah, it was my second year out of college. St. Albans is about 4 hours north of Portsmouth. A little difficult enticing my wife to move 4 hours north to 10 miles from the Canadian border. So I tricked her. I took her on a vacation to the Maritimes, and we drove back down through St. Albans. So it didn't really seem that far because the Maritimes is a long trip away. But anyway, God bless her. She followed me for years, but I was fortunate in St. Albans to inherit a program that was a very strong program, and so for the 3 years that I was there, we were able to win three straight state championships, and I think elevate the level of hockey. I was real pleased that after that I went to New England College, and one of the guys that I coached at New England College, my first year of college coaching. Now mind you, I'm only at this time I'm 25, 26, and I'm head coach at a college, New England College, and one of the players I have is a fellow by the name of Red Gendron. And Red Gendron unfortunately passed away at a very young age. He was coaching in the University of Maine, but he had a highly successful career as the assistant at Yale when they won the national championship. But he followed me at St. Albans and took that program to a whole new level. He, as a matter of fact, one of his players was a fellow by the name of John LeClaire, who's also in the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame. It was great fun, and the people in St. Albans are wonderful. But when I had the chance to move that summer after my third year, we decided to take the job at New England College and go from there. And fortunately, they were patient at New England until we could get things off the ground and going. And I was able to coach there for 7 years.
So what was it like going from high school to college?
Well, it was doubly daunting because number one, because of my age, but number two was the job description was head hockey coach and head men's soccer coach. And so the fellow who was recruiting me to the job was the coach that was leaving, and he moved to Colby College. I said, but Coach Goulet, I don't play soccer. I don't even know if I've seen a soccer game. He says, hey, he said, don't worry about it. We've got a great assistant, and just don't demonstrate. That's all you got to do. Just don't demonstrate. Talk to the kids. Communicate. And so anyway, I convinced the athletic director at New England College that I could do both. He hired me. And I learned a really important lesson that coaching is not necessarily about X's and O's, and it's about the communications. It's about the connections. It's about helping players be able to find their voice and have ownership in the program. And so I coached soccer for 7 years and the hockey there. And quickly, I don't want to bore our listeners, but I just felt from there that we would move back to Portsmouth. My wife had a chance to purchase the Portsmouth flower shop from her parents, and I was fortunate enough to be able to get a job as the assistant headmaster at Berwick Academy, and coach the hockey team that had been kind of dormant. Now, Berwick Academy is a place that developed players that you may have heard of by the name of Micah Ruzioni, who played there for a year. Absolutely. But anyway, the program had gone in a different direction, and so on. So they asked me if I would be willing to do it. So that was the time that I went to Berwick and taught a class and learned about independent school life, coached the hockey team. And the best part was I was close enough to be able to help out at the University of New Hampshire with Coach Holt's last 2 years. And so I would go over and volunteer in my free time at UNH and kept a connection with that. And so I keep going back to this two-sport thing because I think in today's world, our young coaches specialize at such a young age. And the season, well, there aren't really any seasons anymore because it seems as though we make one sport go all year round, which I'm not a proponent of. So anyway, I applied to Middlebury College, and lo and behold, the job description, head men's hockey coach, head women's soccer coach, head men's hockey, head women's soccer. And so, and I'm not going to tell you who they were, but there are some other people that applied for the job that if I mentioned their names, you would say, oh, wow, they had a great coaching career. And they have. And they'd have been great here. The difference was I could coach soccer. And so the coach hired me to come in and do both. And that's how I ended up getting my foot in the door. Now, mind you, I will say this because I think it's a great lesson for young people as they're moving through their careers. And my wife does remind me of this. I've moved 4 times in my career since I graduated from college, and every time I moved for less money.
Wow.
Moved for less money, but I moved for an opportunity. I moved because I felt it was the right thing to do. I've turned down jobs where we would have made more money. Back when we were really on a run and winning those championships, there were, and I say this, hopefully it's not taken in a bragging way. It's just people were asking if I'd be interested in coaching at their school as a Division I level, and but I knew that this was the place I wanted for my career. A great place to bring my children up, great place for us to live, and I have absolutely no regrets with staying at Middlebury College.
Well, we're certainly going to get into that college coaching history where you're at, but we're going to give a quick shout out to a couple of our sponsors. Raleigh's Coach Club in Altoona, Wisconsin, located across the street from the Altoona Ice Center on Spooner Avenue, has been a staple in the Altoona community for decades, providing support and sponsorship for youth and adult sports. Raleigh's has your favorite beverage ready and your favorite team on the screen. And for all your family's insurance needs, see one of the well-qualified Flag brothers at State Farm Insurance. Jeff in Chippewa Falls, Ryan in Eau Claire, or Quinn or Rolf, both located in Duluth, Minnesota, who are all hockey fanatics themselves. Mogi.
So, Coach, you had already been a very successful coach, both at the high school and the college level. Did you have any idea at all what kind of success you were going to see when you got to Middlebury?
Oh, absolutely. No. I vividly remember sitting with our athletic director, Tom Lawson, and Middlebury had gone through a tough few years from a win and loss standpoint. I said, the only thing I ask is you judge me on the kind of young men that I recruit to Middlebury College, and not on the wins and losses. You can't always control the wins and losses, but you can control the kind of young men that you encourage to come to Middlebury College. And he assured me that they would be very patient. And so no, we had no idea. But I will tell you because your area of the world played a big role in how Middlebury hockey history took shape. And back in the 60s, late 50s, early 60s. Three of the best players who ever played at Middlebury College were from Duluth, and they were three brothers, the Freiberger brothers. And I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but they were their mom ran an outdoor skating rink. She would get up and freeze the lot across the street from where they lived in Duluth. And there are people in Duluth that would remember that. And those kids would be able to skate. The town kids would skate on that rink. And it's been written about in best outdoor rinks in the United States. Oh, now, since then, she has passed away, and a lot of people have moved away, not to mention the climate change. But and the Freibergers really put Middlebury on the map. That was back when there was only Division I, and Middlebury was a top 6 team in the country, with the Freibergers and a few players from Boston and a few players from Quebec. And matter of fact, one of the all-time leading scorer in NCAA history, a fellow by the name of Phil Latreille, lives up in is it pronounced Mequon?
Mequon. Yeah,
Mequon. Yeah, Wisconsin. And he had a great career out there working with the Kimberly-Clark group. And but he if you look at his records, he scored 80 goals one year.
Oh my goodness.
80 goals. Yeah. And this was back when you were playing all of the Division I teams. Just a great player from Quebec. But we had a number of those. So anyway, that's the 60s. We had pretty darn good teams through part of the 70s. Into the 80s, a little hit and miss. And when I came in, my first 2 seasons here at Middlebury, we were first year we were 7-16-2. And I said, "Oh man!" I was just about ready to go nuts. My assistant coach, by the way, this is how it comes full circle. My assistant coach looks after the first couple of days of practice. He's a guy who's just fresh out of college and playing a year of hockey in Sweden. Looks at the players, looks at me, he says, "Coach," he says, "you don't need me at practice. I'm going recruiting." And so here's the rest of the story. So the next year, we were 7-16-2. Okay, but we had a young team. The seniors graduated, and they were great kids. It's just that's where we were, and from then on, with these players that he helped recruit, we went on a 20-year run when we won 80% of our games. That assistant coach is the current NCAA championship coach, Mark Taylor. And Mark from Hobart College. Yeah. And he was my assistant coach at Middlebury College. And he was also the head coach of the World University Games, where Matt Lowen was one of his assistants. Yeah. Or Matt was actually the associate head coach. So he really helped jumpstart the Middlebury College program. Just thrilled to be able to share that with you, and I can't tell you how excited I was to get that phone call from him last Sunday night after they won, and to share the joy that he experienced, for sure. So.
Well, not only did you build a winning tradition with your players, but you certainly built a winning tradition with your coaches. That says something about you as a person, and that's going to lead me to my next question. If I want to go to play for you, what were you looking for in a player to be scouted?
First of all, parents that weren't going to interfere.
Good luck with that nowadays.
Yeah. So that shrinks the pool considerably. No, just don't want to upset anybody.
No, but that's an honest answer, and I like it.
Some
It
people need to
absolutely
hear that.
is. And honestly, there have been good players that we haven't recruited, and I know a lot of other coaches feel the same way because of their parents. And it's sad, but it's true. What I look for in players, I want someone who loves the game, who wants to get better, who has a skill set that I feel has growth potential. And that's one of the things that saddens me so with the age level of kids entering the college game today, that I think we miss that a lot of that window of opportunity of recruiting the 19-year-old kid and helping him develop through a lot more practice sessions than games, which and a lot of them play juniors, and a lot of them get better playing juniors. But when they get to the college level at 22 or 23, it's a different relationship. And so I look for obviously we wanted skaters, but we wanted decision makers. We wanted people that were coachable. And how do you find that out? I mean, somebody might be listening and say, well, how do you know if a player is coachable? You look for certain things when you watch them play. You ask them very specific questions when you're recruiting them, and you can't be afraid to ask those questions because you want it to be a right match. So a lot of players that are great players that would not have been a great match for me, and they're great players. It's just the way, and it's important for them to know the way I operated. But it's also important for me to know what I could expect from them. And again, it goes back to what I mentioned earlier is just getting to know these players at a pretty deep level, and to know their families, and to ask the right questions and get them to know. When you're recruiting, you have to be real careful not to be attracted to the player who has these what I refer to perhaps as the great stick and puck skills. The kids who can skate like the wind, who can stick handle through cones, who can shoot the puck as hard as anybody, but when they get in the game, it doesn't come together. And we all sometimes get blinded by that. We also sometimes as coaches say, hey, I can change that guy. I can make him be a smart player. Easier said than done. And it takes a real special relationship to be able to help that come to be. Yeah.
So, Coach, you won consecutive national championships from 1995 through 1999, which is a tremendous run, and that didn't end there. But how were you able to build such a dynasty at such a small private college out there in Vermont?
You had a college that through those first few years I was here, I think came to believe in the kind of young men that we were bringing to the college. For instance, one of our 1992 grads is a fellow that his name might be familiar to you. As the general manager of the Montreal Canadiens, a fellow by the name of Kent Hughes. And Kent was in the class of 1992. We won a championship that year, but we could not go to the NCAA championships because our conference did not support going to NCAA championships. So we won the Eastern Championship, and quite honestly, that could have been the best team I ever coached. We had 5 All-Americans, and Kent was the best of the group. But I think they saw the way the community really gravitated to the program, and the rink was filled. The way it enhanced the town gown relationship in Middlebury and our surrounding communities. And I think they just appreciated what these young men did in the classroom and on the rink. And then I'm going to say we had great assistant coaches that did a wonderful job recruiting. We had some previous assistant coaches that were out coaching in the college level that kept sending us players. Mark Taylor being one of them. Another by the name of Tim Whitehead. Tim was the coach both at Maine and at the University of Lowell, and sending us players, and we recruited in the right places, and so how did you got the kind of players that you could hold accountable, that wanted to be good. But the real secret was we had two goaltenders, and either one of them were All-Americans for 4 straight years.
That's not bad, huh?
So the secret to success is riding a hot goalie.
Oh, man. Well, I say this, it is just pure honesty, and again, it's not blowing anybody's horn other than that they're two great young men. I brought them in after their freshman year because what I did, I alternated them. Each of them played half of the games, and I said, if either one of you want to transfer, I'm willing to help you. You're both great goalies. You're both great goalies. And they said, no, we really like each other. We like the team. We love the school. We want to stay. So as the years went on, we start with a goalie, and freshman year we won the national championship. The next year, alternating the goalies, we won the national championship. The third year, we alternated the goalies. We won the national championship. So the fourth year in a row, it is kind of. I had the Friends of Hockey group that we have, and this is a true story. We had a preseason gathering, and they said, "Coach, we were all wondering. We hesitate to ask, but we're wondering: is there any chance that you could change the rotation of the goalies so that the other goalie gets a chance to play in the championship game this year?" I said, I think you're being a little bit presumptuous. It's a true story. And fortunately, the way it went, the other goalie did get to start the championship game. Wow. Yeah, and we were fortunate enough to win that game. It was just a great time. We had wonderful players who cared about each other. We had 4 or 5 Europeans. We had a handful of Canadian players, and we had players from all around the country that were part of that team. So there was great diversity in that group, and you gave them all a wide path to be able to express themselves and make each other better. And I firmly believe in that. You know, how you get better, I think the players make each other better. You create the environment where you give them a chance to make each other better. The coach way back when at Middlebury would tell me, and he's a legend here. His name is Duke Nelson, and our old rink was named after him, and our field house is named after Duke Nelson now. And he said, "Coach," he says, I'm struggling those first few years. He says, "Coach, I got a suggestion." I said, "What's that, Coach?" He says, "You know, when I first came here, we weren't real good." He said, "Bottom line, I shortened practice." I said, "You shortened practice? What are you talking about?" And I'm this naive young 20, well, I don't know. At that time, I was 33, 34. He says, "Hey, there's no use practicing being bad don't be practicing. Because the ones that are good, they'll get bad. So just shorten practice. and and I kind of go, oh, wow. And the more I thought about it, I think he was kind of right. Oh man, he was just a classic, and bless his heart. Yeah.
Well, Coach, you had 5 consecutive national championships. You step away from the game for a year or so. You come back and you get 3 more. What took you away from the game, and what brought you back?
So one of the things that happened, and I think it's fine if I say it, is the president at the college was trying to figure out ways that I wouldn't be recruited away from the college by a Division I school. And as any coach would have opportunity after having the kind of success we had here, and he said, what's it going to take? I said, here's what it's going to take. I want a sabbatical. I want 1 year away. And he said, yeah. He said, when do you want it? Now? I said, no. I want it in 2002-03, because that will be my son's senior year at Princeton University. Oh. And he's playing on the Princeton University hockey team. And I want to be able to go watch him play, because honestly, I've missed too many of his games, and it's something you're never going to get back. And he said, consider it done. And so I was able, because at that time, the athletic department, even though we're faculty here at Middlebury, we're not offering sabbaticals to their coaches. And honestly, most coaches don't want to step away for a year unless it's a special situation. For me, it was a special situation. So my wife, Judy, and I would hop in the car every weekend, and we would travel to wherever Princeton was playing at the time. And I got a chance to see Trevor's senior year at Princeton. And it was a great opportunity, and no regrets. And I tell you, the support from the players I had was total. And I think for them, it made a statement to them, perhaps a little bit about what we were all about as a family, and I think that was important to them. And when and the other thing that allowed me to do it was that my assistant coach at the time was our current head coach at Middlebury, Neil Sinclair, and so I could leave the team in his hands, and he did a great job. They made it to the NCAA semifinals that year. And it was great, and he did a nice job recruiting some players, and then we were able to pick it up in 2003 and 4, because we had an awesome captain who was close too many times and wanted and just said we're not going to settle for not winning it, and he really led the charge. So. It was great. It was great stuff. Great stuff. We as coaches like to think that we play a huge part in it. I think we play a big part in it, but I think a real the lion's share of that is creating an environment where kids will become their own best teacher. Well, they will take ownership of the program. They'll allow you to guide them, but not give them all the answers. You allow them to grow and to become a team. And when you have to have discipline, you have discipline. But you're also guiding them in what hopefully are some skills that will help them become successful in whatever endeavor they so choose afterwards. For sure.
All right, we're going to give another shout out to some sponsors here. Hertel Law, the law firm you want on your side, focusing on criminal defense and personal injury. Harry Hertel has been obtaining results for clients in the Chippewa Valley since 1981. When you need legal help if injured or accused of a crime, call 715-832-4330 for a free in-person consultation. And also, our buddy Pat Robecki at Riverside Bike and Skate, Eau Claire's hockey headquarters, which is the oldest hockey store in the state of Wisconsin. Buy hockey gear from the people that play and know the game. Riverside Bike and Skate.
Coach, you were awarded the Edward Jeremiah Award as the American Hockey Coaches Association D3 Coach of the Year 4 times. Unprecedented. What does that award mean to you?
Well, obviously, it's a real tribute coming from the college coaches from around the country. And sometimes the only time we see some of the East-West coaches see each other is at the national convention. And if people don't think college hockey coaches are smart, by the way, we do have our national convention in Florida. So and just saying. So it's a tribute, but it's as any coach I think will tell you, it's a tribute to a school that is committing the right kind of resources to the program, to having a great coaching staff, to having wonderful players, and that total support, and for the head coach to be smart enough to recognize what they have. And provide that little bit of guidance. The funny thing is, I think each of those years that I was awarded that, we happened to win the national championship. But people have asked me, what was your best year coaching? And I tell them, it's not one of the years I won the national championship with our team. It was a different year, because I always felt, and these are some of the things I talk about when I do a lot of the coaching clinics around the country, and I've been fortunate enough to do some presentations in Europe and all. That when February comes around, you know how good a job you did if your team doesn't need you anymore. And if you think about that, you can pretty much tell you got a chance to have a great playoff if they don't really need you, and you're smart enough to stay out of their way. and it's the truth. And I think most coaches will tell you that they've got a pretty good idea where things are going to go come February, and just a little tweaking here and there. But you give them their legs, and you let them go, because they're doing the right things. They're making the right decisions, and they're the ones that are driving the bus. Then you know as a coach you've done a great job.
Those years that you were winning national titles, who were the teams or the biggest buzzsaws that you met that you were, you had to do the extra preparation because you were going to have your hands full when you played them?
Well, with respect to all of those opponents, from out your way, there's a team over in Green Bay that's had a little bit of success. Tim Coughlin's done a wonderful job at St. Norbert, and we beat them a few times in the NCAA championship game, and sometimes it was overtime, sometimes it was double overtime. But we had some great games, and there's a real mutual respect with St. Norbert's and Middlebury. St. John's, we came out and played in '96 when Dean Talifas was coaching out there, and that was a great championship run as well. Plattsburgh State with Bob Emery always provided a great challenge. Mike McShane with Norwich. We played Norwich a handful of times in the NCAAs. And I think that as much as we want to beat each other's brains out at that time of the year, I think we'll all say as we step back, weren't we fortunate to have that kind of competition that could bring the best out in each other? To have that competition, and you don't like it when you lose, but I don't think players want to win when it's a walk in the park. I think they want to be challenged to the full. Hey, Superior gave us battles year in and year out, and then actually Coach Stauber in Superior won a national championship one year in Middlebury. As a matter of fact, I think that was in 2002. They won a championship there at Middlebury. So those would be RIT, Rochester Institute of Technology, was always a big challenge back then. Yeah.
So, Coach, you mentioned Coach Coughlin, and we do have plans to visit with him this summer. He had a big landmark victory this year. I think he became the top D3 coach in history. So we'll be visiting with him. But you spent.
Wait a minute. He became what? Wait a minute. He became what?
Number one, I think, most wins by a D3 coach.
That's my understanding.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm teasing.
Okay. You're gonna get back behind the bench and get that record again, aren't you?
I'm getting my application out right now. We're getting after it. If you don't mind me, I just want to interrupt quickly and say, so when we decided to do the World University Games, and we can get into that at some time if you want, but the first call I made was to Tim Coughlin. And I said, Tim, would you be willing to let some of your players come and participate in the World University Games in January? And you know the kind of guy Tim is? What was his first comment?
Oh, I can't wait for this.
No, his comment was, what an honor it would be to represent the United States, and absolutely I would love to have my players be involved. I said, now they're going to miss 2 weekends of games.
Yeah.
And they're going to be of your better players.
Yeah.
He said, Bill, without question, we'd love to have our players involved. So the interesting thing is, in the national championship game this year, between I hate to mention Adrian in the same sentence that I mentioned St. Norbert, but there were 3 Adrian players and 2 Hobart players that played at the World University Games in January that played in the national championship game. So for those coaches that wouldn't allow their players to come, I think it shows that you can do both. And that maybe that experience playing for your country in January really perhaps made you a better player and more well-rounded for those challenges in March. So I'm sorry to digress on that, but Tim was my absolute first call. And after that, because the real question was, if we were to go this route with a Division III All-Star team, you had to be able to get the top programs online, and he was my first call. So sorry.
Oh no, that's wonderful, and we did want to talk about the World University Games, but what you described as those players having that great experience and maybe coming back and being even better. We talked with Coach Loan, and we had Connor Schmall was one of our interviewees, and Quinn Green as well. And they talked about what a wonderful experience that was. They never thought they'd have the opportunity to wear the USA sweater and represent their country, but they actually did, and they were over the moon. That was a great experience for them.
Yeah. Whenever I talk to people about it, and I get asked about it quite frequently, I get chills on it just because I stood behind where the team came out to the ice, and you could see the stands were full with over 7,000 people, and they were all chanting USA, USA. And I'm standing there watching them file out onto the rink, and I'm going, I was here at the Olympics, and this is the same environment in the 1980 Olympics. And for those young men to be able to experience that is just fabulous. To give them the opportunity to do so is fabulous. I hope we can continue using Division III players, because I think it's a part of our hockey population that we need to service, and I hope that USA Hockey will at some point be willing to support it. Yeah.
Coach, I got one more question for you, and I don't know if
no, you don't have one. You got more than one.
Well, we have a million, but we're coming up on an hour, and we know your time is valuable. So,
yeah.
You know, taking that sabbatical for 1 year to go watch your son play says a lot about your character. But obviously, you've got a huge success at D3. What stopped you from going to D1 or beyond?
Yeah, took my question, buddy. Thanks.
Oh, sorry.
Initially, it was because my children were growing up in Middlebury. They were happy. They were well adjusted. They were thriving. And my wife had a job that she enjoyed. She's an art teacher. And I thought that, you know what? I found out that perhaps it was more just being asked to be a Division I coach than really being a Division I coach. Being wanted at that level made me step back and examine the quality of my life and what was important to me and what I enjoyed doing, and the pieces that go into that. And I just said, you know, I've got a great balance in what I do at Middlebury College. I deal with great young men who care as much about the game as they do at Division I. Who they play as hard as they can. They're great students, and I get to spend more time at home. And the other thing, quite honestly, my other job, the last 29 years that I've been here at Middlebury, I'm also the men's golf coach. So that, you know, none of those Division I schools would offer me the golf job too. I just say it. I said, if I take the job, do I get the golf job? No. obviously kidding about it. We like to have a lot of fun with it. But it's a question that I've been asked from time to time. And there are a lot of great Division III coaches that would make wonderful Division I coaches. So we're not just talking about me, but for me, once I got offered an opportunity, it made me examine what was really important in life, and this is what it was, and it really comes into vision. It really a clarity every day with the contact I have with the kids that I've coached over the last 35 plus years here, and hearing from them, and having their children applying to Middlebury College. So for me, it's been really rewarding. It's a dream come true to be able to coach really at any level.
All right.
Coach, like you said, we've got many more questions, but we've already taken up over an hour of your time, and all we can say right now is just thank you for taking this hour with us. We truly appreciate you, your character, all that you've done for the game of hockey, and congratulations on your winning tradition.
Well, I appreciate you guys taking the time to talk to me, and certainly happy to talk at any time. And a lot of great people in the hockey world, and it's always a treat to talk with them and you two specifically. So thank you.
You're welcome. Folks, please remember to say hi to our sponsors when you drop in on them, and do us a favor and leave us a rating and review on your favorite listening platform when you're listening to this great podcast. And All of that helps us stay in the game. Mogi?
Hey, a big thank you to our guest here, Coach Bill Beaney, as well as you, our audience. Please remember our sponsors, State Farm Insurance, Hertel Law, Raleigh's Coach Club, Riverside Bike and Skate, and Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Follow us on your favorite social media platforms as well as YouTube. And remember, folks, until next time, stay on your inside edges.